In this episode of Project Precision, it is the point of no return, as the angle grinder finally gets to sink its teeth into the Skyline.
I'm nervous, I'm a bit worried this might be the wrong decision.
Leading up to preparing to begin the fabrication work, I was eager to see how these rear GDR over fenders from Carbonetics fitted up on the car. And while test fitting other body panels, I soon realised that the nitrous solenoids were hitting on the underside of the bonnet. And seeing that I wanted to make more room in the engine bay, the best solution at the time was to relocate the fuse box, which is what the solenoids were mounted to. But one thing led to another while testing the fuse box in its proposed new locations, and more problems struck as the oil filter and other components were now in the way, which then led me on a wild goose chase around the car where I discovered poorly laid and fitted components and wiring harnesses from previous work done at workshops. But after over 8 hours of backbreaking work, it is now to a better standard, which leads me to where the build is at now.
Alright, quick update, radiator's out, wires have been tidied and plugged back in the engine bay except for the ABS side. I'll do that when I delete the ABS. The bird's nest under the engine bay has been sorted, it's done, took me over 8 hours, but we got there. Then started pulling the stuff out of the rear of the Skyline, got some dry sump lines above me, hanging up, what else do you do with them? I pulled out the dry sump tank, windscreen washer bottle, the lines, nitrous bottle, battery, nitrous bracket, battery bracket, power steering lines. I've got to pull out the Arteza pump. There's a lot of stuff in the boot. A lot of it will not be going back in, like the battery and the nitrous bottles will be getting put in the cabin. I checked regulations that I can do that, so hell yeah, gonna go real fast and furious style. Now I'm going to power ahead and pull out the rear subframe and the fuel tank, again to make ease of access for the fabrication work, but also so I can do some suspension, drivetrain, and fuel system upgrades. Let's go. So I've just pulled out the rear subframe. It was actually a lot easier than I was expecting. Now I'm going to power through and pull out the fuel tank. Then I'm going to run through what is going to be happening to the fuel tank, the rear subframe, and essentially from here. Let's go. I pulled the OEM tank out, drained it, got 25 litres of E85 I do not know what to do with. This will not be going back in, it just plain out can't handle what the car will now be doing. I spoke to Julian from Aftermarket Industries, he gave me a lot of advice and a price for an external fuel cell with all the fuel pumps, inbuilt surge tank, just legit all the bells and whistles. It's a very fancy tank. A lot of the winning time attack cars use them, so sweet. While I wait for that to arrive, we can still cut out the tyre well where the fuel tank will be going, but that's pretty much as far as we can go in that sense. So Peter from 4xFab has arrived and he's currently in the back. Hey guys. Getting ready to drill out some of the rivets in the Skyline. We're going to start with separating the rear partial shelf and then we'll move to cutting out the floor in the boot. And then after that, well, we'll see what happens.
On a Saturday night, 2 shots in and she feeling just right. Call up her girlfriends, rush to the club, trying to squeeze them hips in a dress so tight. You love her, caught your eye, won't find another. Lips so soft and her skin like butter. Wanna tangle up behind the covers, but hold up, you should know. Cause she don't want no man, she just came here to take your bath. Get free drinks with all of her friends. Blow your mind every time she dance.
I'm cutting this beautiful car apart, I don't know if I can deal with it.
Ooh, shake it for a flight to France, you never really stand a chance. Ain't got enough stands to get in her pants. Just tell you you could, but you know that you can't. Don't you fall in love, don't you waste your time. She'll take all your money, won't leave you with a dime. Tell you you're the one, they tell you never mind. Yeah, that girl look good, yeah, I know she fine.
Big day today and lots of progress. Peter from 4x5 spent a solid 6 hours cutting out the bottom of the floor in the boot and part of the beaver panel, along with unpicking the welds and cutting out the bit that the rear seats go onto that makes the, like, separates the partial shelf from the boot. So big day of just cutting out stuff. All the stuff too that we've pulled out came to a total of 14.3 kilos from memory, which isn't too bad, but then remember, we're gonna be putting weight back in as well. Plot twist, remember how I said in episode 1, things just come up when you're doing car builds? As we know, with big projects like this, is they are likely to change because stuff just comes up. Well, something has come up, and that one thing is I'm moving house in 1 week. So I'm currently putting the Skyline back together as much as I can. Doors on, chuck a seat in, got the subframe in, just hanging in there enough so I can move it. Packing boxes, the shelves are starting to get pretty empty, cupboards empty. And then over here, I've got all my Skyline and garage packed up in boxes. I think my Skyline's taken up a total of like 5 boxes so far. I'm gonna get stuck into this, move house, and then we'll get back into the build. So I might not be able to see it, but this driveway is very, very steep. So I've got to push this car out and have it lined up so the tow truck can come down the driveway and winch it straight on. But someone decided to start a project down the bottom of a big hill. Nailed it down, the tow truck can get it from here.
After moving house, the World Time Attack Challenge event soon approached, which I attended, with the main focus being R&D to see how the competitors had translated the paper regulations into their real-life cars. This was very insightful and helpful for someone like myself who is new to this area of motorsport, and the cars there were awesome.
Time Attack was crazy insightful and I learnt heaps, and it got me more excited to get this bloody car done. Though I've hit a bit of a snag with where we're at with the fabrication work, which is the fuel cell hasn't yet arrived, along with other key components and parts that I need to do fabrication work in the front end. So to avoid being stagnant, I'm going to move to cutting out the rear quarter panels. I'm going to do them myself and then get Peter to help me with the rest. So I want to go through, measure them up on the driver's side, start with that, and then go from there. So I went through and refitted the rear tail lights and the aftermarket boot, along with putting in just the top 2 pins. I do have the bottom 2 lined out and ready to put in. The reason why I put these back on was so I can see how much room I'm going to have and, well, to blend it, but also where it will fit up. Depending on what I do will depend on if I actually mold this all the way so you can't tell, or if it's got that kind of flared look at the rear. My next thing I need to work out is, usually with the normal GDR conversion, you would just cut this bit out and the inner part and join them together and weld them. But because I want to reduce some weight, it's do I cut this bit out here and keep the fuel cap, or do I just cut all the way along and pretty much take out as much as the rear quarter as possible? Now, I don't know, because once you sink that grinder in, that's kind of it. So I was going to start with just the normal GDR conversion way, just to allow for the wheel travel, and I guess go from there. But part of me just wants to be like, I just fucking send it, Jonesy, don't worry about it. Peter will fix it, your fabricator will fix it. So this is the proposed part that I'm going to cut out. I've left enough room for the panel bond to obviously seal up here. Look, am I nervous? Yeah, do I think I could make a big fucking mistake? Yeah, some of you are probably screaming at the screen right now, don't do it, don't do it. Or future me is gonna go all interstellar and just start screaming at myself. No! Okay, so I'm just gonna send it and cut out the whole rear quarter, or as much as I can. Some of you are probably screaming at me right now saying, don't do it. I'm nervous. I'm a bit worried this might be the wrong decision, but how else do you learn? And well, whatever it takes. Okay, so now we're going to put on the over fender and see how it lines up. I think someone's smoking weed next door. Obviously this will get removed and I've got to somehow work out how I'm going to fill this in. That's still recording? Yep. So, the good news is you can't tell that I've cut out the rear quarter, which I guess would lead to the point of having this over fender. These two here, I'm actually intrigued to see what I've actually cut out weighs, because I think this thing here is like 2.5 kilos. I want to show you up close what it looks like. Dad, if you're watching this, it's okay. It's gonna be all right. It's gonna be done, blended, finished. It's gonna look sweet, you'll never know. So as you can see, there's definitely some cleaning that needs to be had up here. This is going to need to be taken out somehow. So this whole piece will come off. This is obviously the structural part, so do not want to touch that at all. This will need to come out. Have to measure that up. Now, this is the tough part. I started cutting in here for this part, but I don't think I need to. So I think this is where I fucked up a little bit, but I'm not too concerned, to be quite honest. Coming across here, this just needs to be cleaned up. This is just fucking terrible. I cut it like this for the purpose of having more room for the panel bond, because it's actually clear coat pin there, another one here. So what I'll be able to do now is hopefully from the inside line where it actually presses onto the metal, and then that way I'll know where the panel bond needs to go, because I've actually got to take this down to bare metal. Weight wise, once everything's been taken out, I'll weigh it. I have a feeling there won't be much of a difference, but then you have to look at it from the sense of, if I didn't do this, by the time I add everything else, let's just say I've added 5 kilos, right? But then if I remove 5 kilos from the factory stuff and then I add the aftermarket stuff, which is 5 kilos, it works out to be the same, so therefore you're not really adding extra weight. Now that I'm getting to the point where I'm trying to take out weight where possible, it's actually getting quite hard. Yeah, it's been done now, so I've got to do the other side. So the driver's side rear quarter's been cut out, made a few mistakes as you saw, but Peter said he can easily fix that up. While speaking to Peter, I was almost going to cut out the passenger side as well, but he said he preferred it to stay in for now. And I thought, oh, okay. But then yesterday I discovered something which has turned this entire build on its ass, on its head, or whatever you want to call it. And essentially the build plan that I did in episode 1, and everything related to that is going in the bin. Of course, I have to almost redo everything. in some aspects. What that is, I will go through in episode 3 of Project Precision. But for today's episode, that's all. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, all that kind of good stuff. I really hope you guys are enjoying the build. This is just the beginning, or the tip of the iceberg, I guess you can say. And episode 3 is gonna be fucking wild.